Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, America, beautiful hostess. How are we all doing tonight?
I know
Thanks
I'm
so much for having me on.
doing. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm getting a lot of practicing done so that hopefully, when all of this stuff is over, me and my partner with this new project that we're doing, we'll be able to have our first show. We were supposed to have it May 30th, but
Hmm,
it's kind of looking like that might be postponed a little bit. But no biggie. That
no.
just gives me more time to practice and get all my ducks in a row, I guess, so to speak. So
Right. I know I'm so sad. I literally my my mom is like, okay, so all these other states are extending the stay-at-home order to the middle of May. And I'm like, no. Saying
right,
no. I can't do this any longer. I need to get out.
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm
So
dealing. Go ahead.
go, go. No, you go.
I'm dealing with a little cabin fever myself, but I try to at least step outside and get a little fresh air every day. But I'll tell you, sometimes you just got to find the blessings in disguise. Like, yes, this is a national tragedy, and we all need to come together and do the best that we can to keep everybody safe. But see, as somebody who's kind of like when I start doing my writing, whether it be poetry, whether it be songs for this new album that I'm doing for Broken Focus, or I'm doing my own music and stuff. I
Right.
mean, I don't deal with writer's block almost ever. And there
Yeah.
will be times where like I explode out of bed, and you can tell that you're a really dedicated writer when sometimes I'll just explode out of bed in the morning and I'll sit down and I will lose track of time.
Yeah.
I'll get up at 9 in the morning and then I realize it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been writing the whole time.
Right.
So I'm using this time to just do what I love. So, I'm just trying to take the good with the bad, but I'm not letting the time go to waste. That's for sure.
Amen. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. Me and you both. Obviously, you're doing your music. I'm doing my show. So we're doing it. Da, 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 da,
Right.
da. So let's get this party started. Why don't you go ahead and tell all the viewers a little bit more about yourself for everyone who already doesn't know who you are?
Okay. Well, and I do apologize to people that may still be my fans from back in the day. It's been a good 7 to 8 years, I want to say, since I've done anything creatively, like whether it come to being like speaking at an open mic or doing shows and stuff. And I'm also really excited because this is going to be the first time where I'm actually working with another person. Like everything that I've ever done up until now has just been solo, just me.
Yeah.
And as good of an artist as I am, I feel like sometimes people get a little sick of me after a while because they're like, "Hey, it's just one dude, and he's doing all the music, he's doing all the lyrics," and like it's
Right.
great. But for a stage presence, one guy up on stage,
Right.
it can get a little stale at times. So I try to keep it, as good as possible. But like I said, I'm just excited to work with Matt on this, and I don't know if you know. Obviously, you probably all know him. He's one of the biggest names in music.
Yeah. Who?
Boland. Yeah.
Okay.
Does
Maddie
anybody does
B.
anybody out there know
Maddie
who
B.
Broke
We
Boland
love you,
is?
Maddie B.
If you don't know who Broke Boland is at this point, or you might know him from his other project, Matty B and the Dirty Pickles,
Yes.
um, that you don't know music in Erie. You obviously have not gone to shows in the last 15 years, because and let me tell you, what an honor to not only work with him, but a lot of people don't know this about me and Matt, is that me and Matt went to high school together. So back when we were both absolutely no ones, we were straight dorks. I mean, we still are in a lot of ways, but
That's all
um,
right. Us dorks thrive. I'm a
but
total
yeah,
nerd, and I'm acceptive of it. Like, let me be the baddest nerd out here, man.
right. And that's one thing that I've always taken pride of in my music is I want to be true to myself. I don't want to try to be um, a false sense of like, oh, my life's been hard. I grew up on a farm. I mean, I grew up closer to Superman than probably anybody has in their life. I grew up with both parents. I grew up on a farm. I was raised really old fashioned. So, I translate that into my music as like, I try to be respectful of everyone as possible. But still at the same time, I feel like my music gives me that outlet so that I can be a little more edgy and I can be maybe a little more politically incorrect at times. Obviously, my goal is not to offend anybody, but I still want to be able to say things in my music that I normally probably wouldn't say if I was, say, at a dinner party somewhere, because a lot of my raps and my poems are about my feelings. So I feel like it would be hypocritical if I'm expressing myself and putting other people down. I would never want to do that. And I know my music isn't going to speak to everyone.
Don't be out here putting people down. I'm going to call you straight out. I'd be like,
Well, I do know in the rap game, beef is a part of it. There are a lot of rappers out there that, they either have people that they don't see eye to eye with, or maybe sometimes it's a little bit of jealousy. I know that there.
If I can counteract on what you're saying, I believe that what you're saying is right in the rap scene, but I feel like that's more of a national view. When it comes to the Erie rap scene, everyone is such a collective group of rappers, musicians, whether it be hip hop, whether it be pop, whether it be old school, new school, pop, like rock, indie. They all are so centric with one another, and they all are so open to work with one another that the disc game is so irrelevant here in Erie.
I couldn't agree more.
Charles Brown, who, networks with so many different other artists, whether it be like the LEC, or you got Profound or Doc Proto, and you'll go to hardcore shows, but you also might see like a rapper there that's coming out to support, or vice versa. So I'm really ecstatic about the local music scene that we have here, because everyone just is such a collective, and you really never get that really often anymore when it comes to music. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this community and being able to expose the musicians and artists that are a part of it, because we're all like one big family, and it's so nice.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I have even, obviously I haven't been all over the country with my music, but I've at least been all over the tri-state area. I've done stuff in Jamestown, I've done stuff in Rochester, but I couldn't agree more. And I've actually even had people, when I go to a quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, like a bigger area when it comes to the underground music scene. I think the biggest event I ever did, it was like a 3-story rave in Jamestown. It was an absolutely amazing experience. I got to actually meet some semi-famous people. I got to meet Misinformation, and I don't know if any of you guys remember the show from MTV2 back in the day, but they had this show called Fight Club. And it was just basically, it was based. I'm old, so just so you know, for you younger people, you're gonna have no idea what I'm talking about. But she was one of the artists that was actually on the show, and I had recognized her. And she actually mentioned going to Erie once, and she was like, I love the music scene in Erie because you guys have so much variety. Like when you're doing a show, it's not just a rap show. It's not just a punk rock show. It's not, and I think that's one of the reasons, like when you talk about some bigger bands, like that's why Mushroom Head always comes back, because the music scene in Erie, if there's one thing that we have going for us, it's just the straight eclectic nature of our entire music scene. Like you'll go to a show and you'll see hip hop, punk, rock and roll, rockabilly, just a guy with a saxophone, and then some girl will get up and read some poetry, and it's like all of our shows just have so much variety, and I think that's what really makes us stick out as a music scene.
So you've got some love coming to you. You got your little brother who's out here saying that the nerds are going to thrive in this quarantine. You also got Matty B, who's in here, and he said, yo. So
that would be my new partner, and also my long-term friend. Also, who doesn't love this kid? I mean, he is just such an inspiration to so many different artists. And like I said, not only is it an honor to work with him because I respect him so much as an artist, but it's like I get my old high school friend back when we used to laugh and watch movies together when we were 14 years old and we never thought we were going to do anything with our music. So it's like, not just working with him is amazing because of my respect level, but also this is like I've known him almost my entire life.
Right.
So it's just great.
Going back to you, how long have you been involved in the whole music industry? When did you start out to become involved, to become the third eye focus per se?
Okay, well that's actually a pretty funny story. So
Okay.
I knew from a very, very young age that I was interested in poetry.
Okay.
My first accomplishment that I ever did when it came to poetry. Sorry, I'm like spacing out there for a second. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night.
It's
So
okay. It's okay.
I was in second grade,
Oh,
and
your mom's in here too.
oh, hi, Mom.
Oh, that's so
Love
cute.
you.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
I'll get to her support later, but I was definitely going to speak for a minute or two on that lovely lady tonight. But so I'm 7 years old, and Chicken Soup for the Soul was writing a book. They were it was a certain version of Chicken
for the Soul. Oh my god.
Right. So they were doing a national poetry contest for the kids' version of it.
Okay.
So it was like all over the nation. And I wrote a poem that was kind of like an adaptation of a Bible verse or like a Bible story, I guess. I don't want to seem religiously incompetent here, but well, basically what it was is I did a love poem, but it was about Adam and Eve. And I called it The Beginning of Love. And it was basically the whole gist of the poem was after God created the heavens and the earth and he created man,
Yeah.
God came to man and said, do you like everything that I've done for you? And he's like, something's missing. Something's missing. I don't have somebody to enjoy this with.
Right, right.
So, long story short, I ended up placing second in the nation. That was when my parents knew that I was probably a little smarter than the average bear. They're like, he's 7 years old and he's writing some deep poetry, you know, and killing it. My mom still has that poem, by the way. She still has it. She was so proud of me. And then here I am. I'm a nerd, and I was upset. I was in tears. I was in tears because I thought I had failed. I was like, oh, I didn't get first place. I'm not going to get published in the book.
Right.
But you know,
right.
but still, I mean, now I look back at it and I'm like, wow, for a 7-year-old kid, you know, I was pretty competitive when it came to my poetry and stuff.
Right.
So,
yes.
So flash forward about 7 years. I was just doing poetry. Okay, now I was before, right when I was 14, that's when I started rapping. But up until then, I was like your Black Sabbath, Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson kid. Like, I hated rap. I hated rap when it first started. I mean, I liked things like Beastie Boys and, you know, some of the more edgier stuff, Rage Against the Machine. You know, I had no problem with that. Not that I would really classify them as rap, but they did have, like, rap-type stuff in it.
Right.
Linkin Park was probably about the closest thing that I actually listened to that I would consider any rap, kind of. So what happened is my parents ended up getting a divorce, and my dad, I was living in Cambridge Springs at the time in the middle of nowhere. And I had an opportunity to move up to the city. So half of us kids stayed with my dad, half of kids stayed with, you know, my mom. It was, as divorces go, it was a pretty amenable divorce. You know, it wasn't that there wasn't a whole lot of fighting, there wasn't a whole lot of arguing. It was just my parents decided they weren't in love anymore. And because we had such a good upbringing, we all understood that. And we dealt with it very well. So I get to go up to the city. And I was still your like dorky poetry notebook kid, and I was like a fish out of water. Like, I was this country boy. I was rolling around in a Marilyn Manson t-shirt, and I'm in the McDowell with like, I go from having a total of like 300 kids total at my entire high school to like, I don't even know how many kids were in my graduating class at McDowell. It was like 400 or something, maybe even more than that. I don't know. So I'm just
like 1,000 people in every graduating class. It's a lot.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I'm in absolute culture shock. So as outgoing as I was when I lived in the middle of nowhere, because my mother had worked at the school that she was the guidance counselor at the school that I was going to in Cambridge Springs. So I was a pretty popular kid. Like, my mom worked at the school.
Everyone knew you.
Everyone knew who I was, yeah. So I go to McDowell at 14. Nobody knows who I am. So I kind of gotten like what I guess you would call like turtle shell mode. I just kind of like closed into myself, and I would write in my poetry notebook all the time. At lunch, I'd sit by myself. Sometimes I was that weird kid. Sometimes I went and ate my lunch in the bathroom because I was just so antisocial at that point. And all it took was the one day I was sitting there and I was writing in my poetry notebook, And my buddy Andy, well, he wasn't my buddy at the time. He was just the one that was going to take a chance on me. He was like, this kid seems pretty cool. I've heard him crack jokes in class before. He seems pretty funny. He comes over and he sits down next to me. He's like, hey, man, what are you writing those books all the time? Kind of reminds me of that scene from Back to the Future where he's like, I never let anybody read my stories. So he comes and sits down next to me, and he's like, well, let me take a look at it. And I was like, I don't know. A lot of my poetry is really personal. But I let him do it anyway. I was like, why not? He's being nice enough to talk to me so I can make a friend.
Right.
He started reading it, and I could see him kind of like bobbing his head. Now, meanwhile, my hip-hop knowledge at this point was null and void. I did not know anything about hip-hop. I didn't know that freestyling was going on. I didn't know, I knew Eminem existed. That was about it. that was my extent of hip-hop knowledge at that time. And I saw him kind of like starting to bob his head and stuff, and he was like, hey, man, not only is this stuff really good, but like, have you ever thought of like putting this to music, like in a rap? To which my initial reaction, I started laughing. I was like, dude, rap is crap with a silent C. Like, no, I would never do that. And I didn't. I didn't like rap at the time. I was a metalhead, and like there was just in that moment in our culture, it was like a very segregated type of thing. It was like you either liked metal and rock and roll, you liked punk rock, or you liked rap. And like these genres were not, people of the culture were not hanging out with each other.
Right.
So he says, hey, a bunch of me and my friends, we're going to get together after school, and we're going to go over to my house, and we're going to freestyle. I had no idea what he meant. I was like, okay, so I'll bring my notebook. I went over. They turn on some instrumentals, classic instrumentals. I think we were listening to like Mobb Deep and like De La Soul and stuff like that, which I liked the music. Yeah, I liked the music without the lyrics. For another thing, I had no idea that existed. I was like, oh, you can get these songs without the lyrics and you can like put your own stuff to it. This is pretty interesting. And these kids were amazing. That was actually about the third time that I hung out with them. That was when I met Profound. I've known him just as long as I've known Matty B. I actually helped get, not that I'm trying to brag, I helped give that kid his name, and it actually started as a joke. This is a great story, too. Is me and my buddy Drew at the time, we thought he had a lot of talent, and we used to say, hey, man, you should call yourself Profound because we're pros, and we found you. Get it? And the name just kind of stuck. And he still uses it. He added produce to it, but, like, he still uses it to this day. So I can't be, any more tickled pink that he's still, going by that moniker.
Right.
So these kids were amazing. And then I had to sit back at the end of it, and I was like, yo, guys, that was really dope. Like, how long did it take you to write this? And my friend Adam at the time, he was just like, right. He's like, did we just make that up? And I was like, the rest is history. I mean, I was hooked.
Okay.
I was absolutely hooked. I was like, so what you're telling me is that you're making up live poetry off the top of your head and you're doing it to a rhythm? I was like, this is the biggest thing that a poet could do.
Right.
Like this takes more talent as a poet than anything. Like I was hooked. And actually, I did not start off as Third Eye Focus. I actually started off, I thought I was going to be clever, and my first rap name was Insane, but the way that I spelled it was like in-sane. Yeah, I'm crazy, but I'm in with the sane people.
Okay.
Nobody got it. I mean, we were 14 at the time. They were like,
and we're done.
they were like, it's cool, Will, and you're really dope, but you sound like a 1980s rapper, man. I dropped the insane, you know what I mean? Like, you're not House of Pain. So I got a lot of flack from my friends about it, but it was constructive criticism. It wasn't anything mean or malicious.
Right.
So one day we were freestyling, and I forget the exact line that I spit, but I was getting better and better each time. Yeah. And I said something about posted on your doors an eviction, so read the notice. You can check my third eye. It's always in focus. Ooh. And my friends just jumped up, and they were like, that's your name, dog. Yo, forget all that insane stuff. Forget that. You should just call yourself Third Eye Focus. And it just stuck. Right. It just stuck. And I mean, I've been going by the same name ever since. My lovely mother got me my own Third Eye Focus homage to Superman.
Shout out to Mama Soffa.
Yeah. And just in true Superman fashion, my mother made my superhero outfit for me. So, and I mean, it looks similar to the Superman symbol, but I put my own spin on it, and obviously, I'm using a 3
Exactly.
instead of an S.
I like
And
it.
yeah, and yeah, and Maddie,
then now you're third eye focus, and you've been
I
out there
am.
in the game.
Yeah.
Nice. So, like, where do you see yourself in the community, basically? Like, where do you see yourself represented within the community as a creative?
My biggest response that I get, that I would say where people are like, wow, I really personally, related to that when they'll hear one of my songs. One is hopeless romantic men, like the guys that are probably like the nicest guys in the world. They just, when it comes to women, they have either bad luck or they get socially awkward. They get nervous around women. I still do. I still do. When I have a girl that I have a crush on, I still shake and my palms get sweaty. There's no vomit on my sweater. I see. I was trying to make. Yeah, I was trying to make a joke, and I just totally crashed and burned on. That's moving on. And then another one is. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm nowhere close to that. And another one is women.
Okay.
Just girls tend to really, really like my lyrics because I rap about things of like. Being the guy stuck in the friend zone, but you're still willing to do anything for a girl, or being that guy that if I see a girl getting abused in public, whether it be verbally or physically, I'm going to be the one to step in and maybe get rocked 7 ways a Sunday because I'm in no way a big dude. But I still have that.
Well, that's why I come in for backup because I will.
Yeah, there you go. Because you could be my security.
I don't.
Yeah. Right. So I just feel like another thing, another group that I feel is like people that have been through a lot. People that are dealing with abuse or people that have been dealing with getting made fun of their whole life. I just feel like I like that those type of people like my music because, to be honest with you, if I'm writing my music for anyone, it is for those guys. It's the Peter Parker who's not really Spider-Man. He's just a guy like Peter Parker. I mean, I feel like people like that just aren't really properly represented in most music. That's why I like punk rock so much, because I feel like it's like the outcasts and the people that are filled with angst and stuff, and they feel like they have a voice. So that's really, not only do I like the fact that I get that type of response from people in that particular group, that's who I'm writing it for because that's me.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm writing it for anybody. Anybody that wants to listen to my stuff, it's not like I'm going to be like, hey, man, this music's not for you.
No, obviously, everyone's going to have a different take to whatever music you put out. It all has to deal with perspective at the end of the day. Everyone's going to have a different perspective on whatever it may be that you produce or anyone else produces. So I completely agree with what you're saying there for sure. So to kind of like take a spin around, like a whole 360, let's kind of get to the serious notes of what's going around in the world around us. What is your take on the whole COVID-19 pandemic that's taking over our world right now?
Well, I promised myself, and I talked to quite a few people before I did this interview, and I promised myself that one, I was going to stay positive, and two, I was going to try to be as politically correct as possible.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm an outspoken individual, a lot of the times I realize that some of the stuff that I say can come across as abrasive to some people, and that's not really, that's not my MO. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Basically, if I have one thing to say about it, is that the amount of support that musicians, actors, anybody in the entertainment industry, the amount of support that we're all getting is just, it moves me to tears at times. I hate to sound like a big mushball, but it really does. I mean, I feel so appreciative. I mean, I write poems now and people are so appreciative of it. Like, they will hit me up and they'll be like, oh man, that's exactly how I feel about this situation. I can't believe you were brave enough to say that. And I mean, it's overwhelming and it makes me want to do more.
Right.
As a whole, I think our society does go through things like this a lot.
Yeah.
Whether it be, we're going to war, or obviously we've had pandemics happen before.
Right. Right.
I think that when you have 7 billion people on the planet, sorry, itch on my nose here. We
Oh
have
my
7
God!
billion
Don't
people
touch
on the
your
planet.
face.
Yeah, I know, right? I wash my hands right after this and I walk away. I promise people. I kind of got lost there for a second. What I was going to say is this type of stuff happens all the time, and you have 7 billion people on the planet. There are going to be people that make the wrong moves and probably do what they're not supposed to do.
Right.
But I don't judge anybody for that. I mean, I really think that this whole thing has shown just the general decency of people. And there are days, before this whole thing happened,
Right.
where I would sit there and I'd be like, people are just no good. Like everybody's just jumping down each other's throats. But I just think it's so beautiful that when we're dealing with a global crisis, just how quick we drop all the dumb stuff and we pull together.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking to my family more.
Yeah.
I'm treasuring everything, even if it's just like, I share an apartment with my brother, and even if it's something as simple as just playing a beer pong game, I told him the other day, I was like, hey, man, who knows? Time is finite. I mean, with or without a pandemic, you realize that something like this is like, we are not guaranteed tomorrow. So I'll say things like, hey, man, I appreciate just being able to sit here, shoot the breeze with you, and play a round of beer pong. So I think if I have anything officially to say on the whole subject is that, man, how people have come together and we're taking a crisis and it's really showing our true colors, and they're bright. And if you were to ask me that 3-4 years ago, I'd be like, oh no, if something like this happened, people would be going nuts.
Right.
And clawing each other, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. There was no real mass panic. There wasn't.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there was in certain areas.
Well, just wait, because from what I've been hearing, especially from other states that are a little bit more congested, like California and New York, where a lot of the death tolls are taking a lot of a higher range, they're expanding this whole stay-at-home order until the middle of May. So fingers crossed.
Right.
Not have that happen here in Erie or PA, for that matter of fact, because I swear to God, there is going to be riots that are going to go off because people are so anxious to get outside. And, and I just seen that Wahoo in China.
I don't know how you pronounce it. I probably butcher it too. I would say Wuhan or
Wuhan.
Yeah, okay.
Wuhan. You got
I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Listen to Will. He's got it. But Wuhan, like they just reopened like the whole city and all the borders, and
yeah, I heard that
out there, and like. But it's so cool because like all the police officers have like all this gear with the cameras and stuff, and I feel like it's gonna happen here in the United States. Like as soon as they lift this whole stay-at-order ban, they're gonna have all this technology and gear to like monitor people and like test temperatures of people with like infrared rays, and it's gonna be crazy. But I just want to get out the house already. Like I just want to go hug all my friends, and it's crazy. And I don't want to be stuck in the house any longer than I have to be. But like at the same time, it is great to be stuck in the house because of things like this. I've created this platform for creatives to be able to express themselves and give showcases that people aren't able to see in person. So, like you were saying earlier, it's a curse and a blessing, but I don't want to be stuck in the house any longer than we need to be. Like I'm ready to go.
Right.
Show off my hair. I want to show off my nails. Like let me be free.
Well, it's just crazy. Like I've never, like I said, the only part of the cabin fever that gets to me is I need to at least step outside once or twice a day.
Yeah.
Just to breathe some fresh air and hear the birds.
The weather isn't helping.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, it snowed today. It hailed, it snowed, it rained. It was sunny, it was windy. We experienced like all 4 seasons in like 3 hours.
Well, it wasn't too bad. Yeah, it wasn't too bad down here in Pittsburgh. So
Oh, you're in
which,
Pittsburgh right
well, yeah, actually, I'm stuck here, so.
now? Oh my gosh. I had a friend who was like, you should come and ride your motorcycle down to Pittsburgh. And I was like, don't think that's gonna happen, but
Right.
we try.
Well, and I was living here for a year beforehand.
My dad's watching right now, so I have to say hi to my dad real quick. I love you.
Hi, Papa Simone, that I do not know your name, but your daughter's absolutely out here killing it with these interviews. She's great. She's lovely.
Oh,
That reminds me of when I met you.
yeah.
It was that first show that Matt took me to.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Why don't you tell those people about how you met me?
Okay. So me and Matt were just starting to work on our project, and he hit me up the one night. I wasn't working at the time, so he was like, "Dude, you're not." He was like, "Dude, you're not doing anything. You're coming to this underground hip hop show," and I was like, all right. I haven't been to a show in about 3-4 years. Why not?"
Right.
So we go, and then they did like an open cipher, which I was excited for because I hadn't been like on an actual microphone in like 5 years.
God.
And you just hopped up there and you started killing it, girl. And I was just like, I don't know what this girl's all about, but I think I want to know some more. Like, it was great. It
was not killing it. Let's not get it wrong, because let's just say that I had maybe had a couple of drinks before I left work, and they said,
possible.
All right, it's time for anyone to jump up on the mic, and I said, all right, I'm gonna do it. And I got up there, I was like, yo, my name's Simone. It rhymes with my phone. You can call me any time of the night or the morning.
Yeah.
And I remember Johnny Evans taking the mic from me, and he was like, you need to stop. And I was like, but I was doing good. He was like, no.
Hey, I enjoyed it. And I've had those moments, too, where I think, I may or may not have too many martinis, and I'm spitting stuff, and I'm not even making rational sense. Like, all the words are going together, but in my head, it's sounding awesome. I'm just like, yo, dude, I just killed it. And they're like, you killed what? Like, our ears?
Someone thought it was good.
Oh yeah, I did. I thought it was, I got a kick out of it.
Well, good. Okay, so back. We're talking our heads off.
I know, right?
Back to the questions. So, during this very serious and difficult time, what is it that you're doing to pass the time in a positive way?
Like I said earlier, I mean, I'm just immersing myself so deeply in my writing, and I'm practicing, because this project, Broken Focus, that we're going to be doing, it's going to be different. It's going to be different than anything that I've ever done before. First, in a lot of ways. The style of music that I'm doing with, I have a partner now. It's not your typical hip hop beats. So like, when I'm not writing my own personal stuff, I am trying to give Matty B the utmost respect that I can to him, not only as a friend, but also as a mentor. And like, I mean, when it comes to performing, Matty B he sets a standard for all the musicians. I mean, he's always professional. So I just want to make sure that I'm not going to let him down when it comes to, I mean, I want to be able to get up on the stage and do these songs with him and not only flawlessly kill it, but I want to have a good time at the same time.
Right.
Because he makes it fun.
An incredible performance.
He really does. And like I said, I know I sound like a broken record, but I couldn't be any more honored that I actually get a chance to work with him on this project. And I know I can be a pain sometimes. I can. So he has enough patience for the both of us that he really wants to make this work, and I couldn't be any more excited to be working on it with him.
I'm glad that you at least have something to look forward to the end of it, and also something to continue your creative drive while you're stuck in the house.
Right.
It works out.
It really hasn't been bothering me that much. Like I said, I mean, I dance around the house when I'm, going through my music and stuff. I'm actually more active in the house than I probably wouldn't be if I had other options, which is really weird.
Right. Well, it happens sometimes like that. I feel you. I have those days where I'm like, woo, I'm feeling so great, and like, I just want to go dance and have a good time. And other days I'm like, I'm so lonely and I miss all my friends. But you're going to have that give or take kind of relationship with your own self during a time like this. So you just have to continue to search for the positive throughout all the negatives that we're experiencing. you know?
Absolutely, and that's always been a staple of my music. I mean, a lot of my stuff, to read it, you would think, oh man, that, like, I've had, female friends of mine be like, Will, I read that poem that you wrote, or I read that rap that you wrote, and it made me cry. Like, you seem so depressed, you seem so sad, and I'm like, yeah, see, you don't understand. Like, when I write that stuff out, it goes away.
Right.
I don't hold on to my pain. I put it on the paper, and I feel like it makes for really good stuff sometimes. I mean, yeah, it is sad and it's depressing, but I feel like after it's down on the paper, or it gets put into somebody's ears, it's gone. I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel that pain.
It's like a breath of fresh air. It kind of gives you
Yeah.
a relief. Like, I wrote this poem for a person that I really valued and I really had an attraction to. And, you know, even though it may have not been appreciated as much as I wanted it to, it was still great for me to be able to put that down on a piece of paper and expel my feelings, because it felt
Right.
like I was able to let go of whatever I felt at that moment. And at least I know that even if they didn't take it to heart, at least my heart was able to let it go, you know? So I can exactly feel where you're coming from when you say something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So uh have you ever come up with any like new inspirations, techniques, or you already told me about your new project on Matt, but like any inspiration or techniques that you come up while you've been stuck in the house?
Ah, um, one thing I'm practicing with right now, and it has been so much fun. Uh, I feel dumb because it's one of my favorite songs, and I can't remember the name of the rapper off the top of my head, but I think it's called Rap Olympics, and he does the whole alphabet.
Ooh,
Okay, so I've kind of taken my own spin on that,
okay.
and for example, I won't read that one tonight, but maybe on a future episode or something. Like, for example, I was like, okay, today I'm going to do the letter D, and the way that it kind of started out was like, drinking in denial, my depression is my destiny. Dress it up as Danny D's, la da 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 da, and like I'm trying to like do the entire rhyme format with the first letter of every word being D,
Oh my gosh, that's a
and
lot.
and it's a challenge. But I'll tell you what, some of the stuff that I'll come up with sometimes, I'm like, yo, that's just as good as when I'm writing a regular rap, and I feel like
Right.
it's the other thing is what I'll do is like I'll do like what do you call those, like an anagram, like
Yes,
with my
yes,
name,
yeah.
like I'm Will because I'm, like the letters of my name, like
I'm
I'm Will
Will because
because
I'm
I'm,
welcoming. I'm
yeah, or something like that. Like I'm Will because I'm wild. I'm so ill because blah blah blah, and
right,
so on and
right,
so forth. But it's just to try to I feel like as much as I do, which isn't a bad thing. But when you're a rapper and you're a freestyle artist and you get comfortable with certain things, you tend to repeat yourself. And I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that you can make as a rapper, because your lyrics, though they are to music, you're not really singing, you're doing spoken word.
right,
And nobody wants, unless they really, really, really like it, nobody's going to want to go to the same movie 4 times in a week.
right,
Um,
right.
so I'm just trying to keep content fresh. And I feel like when I do exercises like that with letters and anagrams and stuff, then my freestyle game gets better.
Right,
So,
exactly. So it works out. It's a good pair and share per se.
absolutely.
Nice. So what have you found to be the most challenging for yourself during the creative process while you're stuck inside?
Well, the thing that breaks my heart every day is, when me and Matt started working on this project together, I even got emotional the one night and I was like, dude, you possibly have saved my life. I have had more fun in this studio with you than I can remember having in maybe the last 6, 7 years. Like it was just so much fun. And like I said before, it's like I got my old high school friend back, but now this is also an artist that I would consider like a mentor, and like,
Yeah,
you know, so the hardest part is it's just not being able to be there and not being able to work on this together. I mean,
right,
yes, obviously we still keep in contact. He's a very busy man. We try to keep in
right,
contact as much as possible. but it's just not the same as like sitting down in a studio and sharing a cold one, and then next thing you know, it's like when I talk about losing time. I mean, there'd be times where I'd go into the studio at 6 p.m. with him, and we're there till 4 or 5 in the morning. And I'm like,
Right.
dude, we just did like an 11-hour nonsense, but we were getting a lot of stuff done. So I guess the hardest part for me, um, music wise, is just not being able to be up in Erie and be with him and continue to work on this and figure out what we like, what we don't like, talk about it and discuss it together in live real time. And personally, it's just, being away from my family and not being able to like go back and forth, like spend time with my brother down here in Pittsburgh, but then every other weekend I can just take like a 2.5 hour bus ride and be up in
Right.
Erie and do that stuff. So just being stuck is
Right.
like, it's a challenge. But I'll tell you what, if that's the only thing that I have to worry about in this
Right.
pandemic, I'm going to consider myself blessed. I
Right.
haven't gotten sick. I don't have any loved ones or family that are hospitalized right now.
Amen.
Amen to that. And that also makes me pray for everybody that may be going through something like that.
Right.
It's got to be even harder than what I'm dealing with. So I feel like when it comes to what I'm dealing with, that's like small potatoes
Right.
compared to what I could be dealing with. So knock on wood,
Right. And
because that could change.
I'm happy that you are safe where you're at, because I know Pittsburgh is definitely one of the hot spots here in Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
Pittsburgh and Philadelphia both, because you've seen on the news that the areas that are more congested are the areas that are experiencing the most amount of loss and the most amount of the infection being spread. So I'm
right.
really happy that you are safe where you are, and I hope you continue to stay safe there, because like I said, I've had people that are like, "Oh, come down to Pittsburgh, like come visit. I'll help you with your show." And I'm like, "There's no way in hell like I'm gonna make my way down there, because
Right.
I'm here safe with my family." And even though we're just now experiencing community spread per se, speaking of Kathy Dahlkemper's words, but you know, it's I'm just gonna take day by day, and
Right.
hopefully nothing gets extended, and hopefully you stay safe where you are. So, my goodness, God
Well,
bless.
I'm trying to leave the house as little as possible. I am not working right now, so I don't have to
Right,
leave the house. The only thing that I have to leave the house for is, say I need food.
right,
That's the
right.
only thing
And
I am leaving.
food is a big situation right now.
Yeah.
Like, especially in Pittsburgh, I'd seen the news, and there was
Yeah.
this long line of cars to go to the food pantry. So, and especially like people have to go to the food pantry because the stimulus checks aren't coming in as fast as they should be, and then one
Right.
thing leads to another, and then we're all stuck in a situation. So it sucks, but we can only just go day by day and see what's gonna happen next.
And that's all that we can do is take it one step at a time and try to be as
Right,
safe as possible.
right. So, next question is like, what is the best and the worst thing that you have taken away from this pandemic?
Well, the best thing is family. I mean,
Right,
just like I said, I'm talking to my mom more. Not that I don't yak her ear off constantly anytime. I mean, my mom is not only my mom; she's my best friend. I mean, I can talk to her about literally anything.
right, right.
I'll always be a mama's boy. But it helps
Nothing
me
wrong
be.
with that, baby.
And there is nothing wrong with that. And I feel like that's why I'm respected by so many females that like really know me, and they're like, because they have that age old adage. They're like, well, look at how he treats his mother,
Right.
because that's how he's going to think it's okay to treat you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I get a lot of insight. I learn a lot of things through osmosis with my mother, because she was a psychologist for a very long time. So like when I
Okay.
have honest questions to her about like, hey, I'm not really sure what this. I kind of like this girl, but I'm not sure what her body language is. And she just starts spouting off like a professor, and she's just like, well, this means this and this means this, and if I were you, I would do this. So it's like,
Right.
um, definitely the best thing is just having more time to talk to my family, having more time to talk
Good.
to my family, work on my music. Um, Not that I want to be negative, but the worst part of this whole thing, I can actually think of a specific example. So the only place that I can really go to for food right now is like the gas station. I've eaten more gas station burritos than I
My
probably will
goodness.
ever have to eat in my life again,
Just
or
more
want to
time.
eat. Yeah, I mean, but it's whatever. I take what I can get. So I go to the store. Um, the clerk, a lot of places have adapted that. They put up plexiglass to keep them safe from somebody who could potentially cough or sneeze on them,
Yes,
which I have
exactly. Doing that
I have
everywhere.
no issue with that whatsoever. I mean, these people that are forced to work right now, they should be as safe as possible. So I go to the store, and I had just got done smoking a cigarette, so I had like kind of like a little frog in my throat, and talk to this girl like tons of time. We know each other. She works at the gas station down the street from my house, and I don't have a car right now, so I'm walking. She knows who I am. I had like a little frog in my throat, and I kind of went like, trying to get the smoke out of my lungs.
You scared her.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that it was like that live yet because I was trying to limit, just I want to be informed. I want to know what's going on, but I try to limit like how much news I watch in a day. So like I didn't know that it was really getting like that crazy yet.
Right.
And like she stopped the transaction in the middle of the transaction, and she just looked at me, her eyes got all wide, and she was like, "So are you going to apologize?" Now meanwhile, I had just woken up. I haven't even had my first cigarette of the day. That was my first. That was my first cigarette of the day. Like I'm still in a haze. I'm kind of tired. I have trouble sleeping a lot. I had no idea what was going on. I just looked at her and I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, you coughed everywhere." She was like, "It's all over my glass. It's this. There is a pandemic." I was like, and she seriously started talking to me like I was under arrest. And my eyes are just getting wider and wider as she's saying this stuff to me.
Well,
okay.
You got
yeah, I was like, well, this escalated quickly. I think it's very important. And in the poem that I did plan on reading tonight, if you still want me to, I know that we're going probably way over what your regular time is.
No, that's fine. You're talking a lot. It's okay.
Is it don't let fear control you. If you're going to let anything control you, let it be your hope and understanding.
Right.
And not that I'm specifically like trying to say like, oh, now I have an issue with this girl. No, I wish her the best. It just, right. That was when I realized that this whole situation is going to have certain negative impacts on our society for the rest of our lives. A lot of things will go back to normal. I hope they go back to normal. That's great. Some things never will. Some things never will. And I think it was at that moment I realized there was going to be certain things that were never going to be the same.
Right.
Because now we're in, we're not afraid of Y2K anymore. We're not afraid of the repercussions from 9/11. Now we're afraid of germs, and germs can be anywhere. So basically, like the negative aspect of it is that this is breeding a lot of fear, and we all know that when people in large groups are all afraid of the same thing, whether there's rational reasons for it or not, it's never a good thing. You're having a bunch of scared people running around, and then I feel like then we tend to lash out at each other, and that's when the more negative aspects of society come out. It's just not a game I want to play. I want to talk about hope. I want to talk about pulling together,
Amen. Well, then I'm going to take a break while you answer this question, and you're going to answer the question too. What is your goal as an artist to uplift the people around you?
The main thing about it is truth.
Yes.
I want to be as true as possible. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth is ugly. Sometimes it's something that people don't want to hear, or it's hard to swallow. I mean, I don't know how many, age-old adages you can add to like the truth being something that's hard to deal with. So I just feel like if there's one thing I can do is, it's not always pretty, but I've always been a firm believer in speaking your mind and speaking the truth. And also just being dedicated to people that have like literally supported me my whole life. Like long-term friends. So, hold on, I'm getting comments here.
Woo! All right, we're back in here.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
No,
my brother was giving me off-screen advice on my interview. He's such a great guy. You saw him helping me earlier today because I feel like I'm a caveman that got thawed out of a block of ice sometimes. And I don't even know how to operate. I just don't even know how to operate modern technology. I'm surprised this headset hasn't burst into flames on me yet. Me and machinery does not get along all the time. Okay.
Oh.
But
happens. So other than what you've already been doing before the pandemic, do you have any plans for once all of this craziness is done and over with?
Absolutely. Not only do I really, really want to get this project done with Matt because it's been so much fun working with him so far. I also have been thinking about doing something alongside of this. It would be just one song, but I really want to do a music video.
Okay, nice.
So I've been talking to a lot of great people. Some of them are long-term friends of mine, like my buddy Logan and my friend Kristen. I've been, asking people, hey, would you want to be in a video with me? Here's the theme of it.
Me, so
I would love to have you if you want. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be able to pay you like Virgin Records would, but I mean, we'll be able to figure something out.
I'm just happy to be able to help any of the creatives that are in this community. Any part that I can play, I would love to be a part of it. So.
Yeah, I was actually heartbroken because the place that I decided that when I was looking at different locations, and I'm like, okay, so when it comes to my style, where would I really want to do a music video?
Right.
And I thought of Centralia, or AKA the real Silent Hill, what Silent Hill was based off of. Right. I would love to do a video there, as long as after I do my research, is it going to be safe to film there? Obviously, safety would be the biggest concern. Right. So before I go there, I'm going to make sure that I do my homework and be like, okay, so where would it be safe to film? Is it going to be worth filming there? I was heartbroken to hear that they are burying the graffiti highway because let me tell you, with some either semi-aerial shots or moving shots, I really think on that graffiti highway you could get some really good shots out there. So I mean, other than the whole broken focus thing, I would just really like to do this music video because I have so many talented people that are like willing to drop what they're doing and they're ready to do this because they're like, no, dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. So
right. Well, I'm super game for it. I'll rock the space buns. I'll dye my hair like super, super bright purple. I'll bring out all the scene, old school.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for
baby.
edgy looking.
I found my old DC shoes. So
there you go.
I'm ready, baby. I'm ready.
Ready for your close-up. We would love to have you. Yeah.
Yes. Let's feature these cheekbones. Let's get it.
Right.
So before we wrap it up and before we get to your showcase here, do you have any other words of advice or wisdom that you want to pass on to the people that are watching and, that continue to give you support throughout your whole career?
Just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I've been very, at times in my life, not that confident about my abilities. Like when I wrote this poem that I was going to read tonight about the coronavirus, I was very nervous. I was very nervous about reading it because, like I said, sometimes I have a tendency to be a little harsh and not politically correct. So I figured the best thing that I could do was, after I sent it to you to make sure, hey, is this something that I could say? Yeah, I sent it to about 50 people. And the response that I got from it was great. I mean, I had people hitting me up saying, oh, dude, that's exactly how I feel about this, but I'm not brave enough to say that. And they were like, I appreciate that you were able to say that, and you said it with such conviction. So I was like, well, I'll do it on the show. I mean, and I do apologize ahead of time if I do end up inadvertently offending anybody. I do want you to know that it's a work of fiction. It's it's not, conducive to any real views or things that I have. But there is a little bit of my own personal feelings in there. Yes. So before, strap yourselves in, content. Okay, I'm warning you now.
Buckle up, baby.
Right. So if you think you may be offended, what's that disclaimer that they say sometimes? Viewer discretion is advised. So you all got a warning. If you think you may be offended, you are going to want to leave now. But I doubt that's going to happen. So.
No, I think you'll be fine. I mean, last night was a really interesting episode with, the 19-year literature teacher at Edinburgh, and his poem was amazing. So.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I watched the whole episode. So.
Right. Well, I can't wait to see what you have. So if you don't have anything else left to say for words of wisdom or advice, then it's your time to shine, baby. Show us.
Yeah, let's get it popping. I'll read you my it's untitled. I guess you could call it coronavirus or whatever.
All right, COVID-19 for the win.
But and also I will be doing some slight editing in this because the language is a bit intense at parts, so I'll try to skip as many of the
No, that's right. You can do it. No. Let it be natural. Let it flow. Whatever you have to say, let it be. There's nothing wrong with what.
There's only two. There's only two. It's not like it's like.
I mean, I always say "what the hell" on my show, so it's
right.
Go ahead and do what you got.
All right. Baby. Yeah. So we'll. I'll tell you guys my coronavirus poem here. Okay. So now, homies, I know we're living in a time of fear. But if you need a dope poem, yo, that's why I'm here. I'll be clear, I see this could be an excuse to control who we talk to and stop us from walking to where we want to go. But I'm still headed the same place, and that's right to the top. So please don't be shooting me stink eye every time that I cough. I'm not saying it ain't serious, so please be hearing my words. Fearing everyone and everything is the last thing we deserve. The sickness is wicked. Some say that it's been predicted. The ones stricken are afflicted, but now we're all stuck in a prison. It's turned our own homes and communities into immunity from life. And usually it's beautifully the reason that we cry. So please try not to panic. These letters are found in pandemic. And them reporters and politicians use fear. You see, they spread it by taking worst case scenarios and scaring those citizens into buying the mass hysteria for making some dividends. Let's pretend that if we shut off the TV and all of our phones and we walk together hand in hand and dared to be bold, do you think a cold or virus could ever break the human spirit? And I'm just spitting the whole truth, but most of you can't hear it. So fear it and take precautions. It never hurts to be safe. Just don't let the price you pay as your government seal in your fate.
Oh my God! Snaps, baby, snaps!
I was really nervous writing that. I was like, I don't know if I should say this.
You just spoke volumes. That was really, 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 really good. That was really
Thank you so much. Like I said, I was really nervous.
Welcome.
I was very nervous writing it, nervous reading it. Like I said, and some of those things never go away. You would think with all the things that I've done with music that I would be like cool as a cucumber, and I'm still all shaky and nervous before I get on stage, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to bomb so bad, and then the music starts and I'm like, all right, hit it.
Right. No, that was amazing. That was really, really good. I like how you put it into a perspective for us, the younger generation to kind of understand, but as well for the older generation to understand.
Right.
My dad left a comment on the chat and he said, I love politically incorrect things. And I love
well, then he would love my poetry because that's probably like a level 1 on a scale of 1 to 10 of how politically incorrect I can be. But like I said, and I've said this before, I never say any of it to be malicious. I never say it to be malicious. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's day. I speak from the heart, and sometimes my heart is a little icy, and I think we all have that potential. You know what I mean? When you're mad about a breakup, you're not going to write a poem that's going to be like, well, it was puppies and sunshine today, so I looked out the window. You're going to be like, no, I hate everything.
Yes, you're gonna be like, I hate that mofo, and he can go and kick that fucking door, because I don't want to
Yep.
go with him, and I'm the one who's gonna win. Like, oh, see, look, now I'm breaking out Rand spit rock.
See, there you go.
Stop.
Once I can get back up to Erie.
Embarrass myself on my own show. Well,
no, and I don't think you ever have to be worried about that. I mean, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to actually sit down and be on your show. I've been watching; it's great. And maybe I can be on a future episode and I can read you guys some more stuff.
Yeah, hopefully the next future episode will be a face-to-face interview and an actual
studio
instead of being miles apart through technology. I mean,
right.
It's also really great. This makes me feel so at home because the extrovert in me is dying for, social interaction. So I'm glad that I have this type of outlet to express myself and be able to, expose the creatives that deserve to have the attention that they need. So I'm really grateful that you were able to come on my show tonight, and I'm really grateful that we had a really good conversation tonight.
Well, I'm grateful that you had me. And for anybody out there watching, I hope you did enjoy the poem. It seems like my interviewer here definitely enjoyed it. So I was half, and sometimes I get a little more paranoid than I should. I was like, oh man, I'm going to get halfway through this. She's going to be like, all right, cut the feed. We're done. We're done here.
No, that was amazing. You did a really, really good job.
Thanks.
Awesome. So people want to find you. Where can they do as such?
Okay, so there's two places. If you would like to see some of my more individual stuff, you have to type in Erie, PA after you type in Third Eye Focus. Otherwise, you're just going to go to a whole bunch of like yoga and meditation practices, and has nothing to do with my music whatsoever. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Third Eye Focus Erie, PA,
okay,
that's going to link you to a lot of them are old. Just because it's been a while since I've done new content.
That's fine.
But they're my freestyle videos, and it was actually the way that I was able to place 3 years in a row in Rock Erie.
Okay. Oh, okay. Rock Erie Award, mother.
I think I told you that once. I was like,
you did.
Third place 3 years in a row, single hip hop, and I was like, my name's Third Eye Focus. I think they did that on purpose. They're like, we'll give them third place 3 times in a row. 333. There you go. I just got it before you get rid of me. Yeah. Not that I minded. I mean, just going to Rock Erie in itself was just like such a mind blow. It was a lot of fun. So you type in Third Eye Focus Erie, PA into YouTube, and you'll go to all my old freestyle videos. That's how I did my preparation for Rock Erie. You can look up the project that I'm working on right now with good old Mr. Boland. Broken Focus. We have a band page on Facebook. We currently have one song downloaded on the page, so if you do want to check it out, you can. And I just got a message from Mr. Boland that said we will be, and I didn't know this yet, but it's hot off the press. We will be releasing another song this month. So you'll have 2 different songs. Yeah. So shout out to Matt. Thank you so much for being a good producer and telling me how to promote our music as well as my poetry and stuff. So if you want to go check out the Broken Focus band page, we already have one track up. That was the track that you were doing in the intro.
Yes,
and we all
as well.
Yeah, and we will have another track shortly. So
nice. I'm excited.
And the only other thing that I can mention is if you want to look at my individual poetry that isn't necessarily rap, it's just poetry. Best way you can do it is add me on Facebook. I post sometimes 4 times a day, mostly once a day. I mean, I try to write every day.
Right.
So you can check out, like, if you're more of a fan, like, so if you go and you look up the Third Eye Focus stuff on YouTube, or you go and you look up Broken Focus and you're like, hey, I'm not really feeling any of this, but hey, that coronavirus poem was lit, dude.
So
You can,
good.
you can check out my poetry on my actual Facebook page. Now, in the future, I might get an actual website dedicated to all of my poetry. I think I have,
Right.
just on Facebook alone, I have like 300 lyric sets that are just like waiting for tracks. But I was thinking about just like publishing them all on like a blog or something, but that's in the future.
Yeah. Even if you make like your own Facebook page, which I've done for my show, like something like that,
Right.
you can just upload everything that pertains to that outlet. That's the best way to go about it in these times. Like, I mean, that's what social media is here for. So you might as well take advantage of it while you can.
Right.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on my show tonight, Will.
Well,
You
thank
have
you.
me.
Thank you.
I really love your poem, and I really am grateful that I got to learn like a lot more about you because I really didn't know that much, and I can't wait to reconvene with you after this whole pandemic is over and even get to know more about you face to face.
Absolutely. You've been an absolute peach. I can't thank you enough for having me on the show. I mean,
Yeah,
you're extremely professional. You're always very nice to me, even though you may get frustrated with me because I am such a jabberjaw. I'm probably going on 15 minutes over time right now. So
that's fine. This show has no time limit. It's
well, there
open
we go.
to so many different types and varieties of discussions. The only thing that's going on right now is that my mom is making dinner right now and it smells so good. I'm dying right now. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to go eat.
Well, there you go.
Other than that, this interview has been delectable for me, and you really have opened up my mind with your poem, and opened up my thoughts to yet again another different variety of a creative such as yourself. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and
Absolutely.
spread some good vibes for the people when we desperately need it the most right now. So
Yeah, and I mean, basically, that's all I could hope for. If you got some good content, and I say this all the time, so I'll probably pretty much leave you with this. I've said this more than the entire time I've been a rapper, a poet, whatever you want to call it. I get nervous sometimes when I write my stuff because I'm afraid I'm going to offend somebody, or I'll be like, no one's going to like. But I'll tell you what, if there was anybody watching tonight and that poem made you smile, it was so worth me doing it. Whether you make a million, and I think a lot of artists need to realize that, whether you're making, because everybody wants to make it big in the music industry. I know that's the name of the game. We all want to be famous. We want to be living in Hollywood. Um, don't ever take for granted that if you changed one person's life, even for a split second, in the positive, then you're a good artist.
right,
So that's just basically how I feel about that.
yeah. And I feel that you are an incredible artist, and I can't wait to see what else you have in store for us, you know?
Well, I'm excited as well. So
Well, I'm going to let you go. You go enjoy a beautiful night that I know you have ahead of you. You stay safe out there in Pittsburgh. Please, 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 and thank you. And then,
I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch.
yeah,
I'll keep
of
talking to you.
course. Yes. And then once this is all over, when you come back to Erie, let's reconvene and make some, music video magic and whatever else comes out of it, you know?
Yeah, actually, right before we go is, yeah, when we can do it face to face, I'd like to do a more broken focus, intense interview, like where me and Matt can actually talk about this together.
Of course. Of course.
So that would be the plan for the future.
Heck yeah, man. Rock and roll. Hell yeah, brother.
All right. Well, I had so much fun tonight. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, thank you so much for being a part of this. And you just keep doing what you're doing and spreading the good vibes and positivity. And I'll keep doing the same. And I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Excellent. Have a great night, hon.
You too. Bye, honey.
Bye. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So that's a wrap on another episode of Tales Behind the Creative. Again, I am your hostess with the Samostess, Simone Allison Crockett. I'm probably going to stick to Simone Allison just because it sounds really poetic in a way. I love my last name, but Simone Allison just sounds really, really nice. So I'm going to stick with that. But I really, 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 really want to speak on something that I really want you guys to spread around for the love for me and the positivity, because I know I've been getting a lot of different responses from all of my shows, and I'm really, really appreciative of all of you guys and everything that you guys are doing for me to spread the love. So not only do I have the show here on my own personal Facebook page, Simone Allison, but I just created my own Facebook page for Tales Behind the Creative. You can look it up, hence Tales Behind the Creative on Facebook. Please give it a like, give it a share, spread it around, just because I want to be able to spread this business as much as I can, because I want to be able to create a fund for all of the creatives here in Erie as well as near and far, so that I can raise a little bit of money so I can be able to support artists and creatives in any way possible that I can. I also created a Patreon page where you can go and donate money, as well as getting live question and answers from me myself. If you have any questions for me that you've been dying to ask, I would be more than willing to ask them just for a small donation of $5. Also, I'm creating business cards, which I'll be able to hand out once we're finally able to get out of the house after the stay-at-home order. Um, and then other than that, I just want you guys to keep tuning in, keep being interactive with everything that we have going on here, and just keep spreading the love and positivity that we have. So before I wrap up, I'm probably going to finish off the song that is included for Broken Focus, which includes Will Soffa, who I had on tonight, and Maddie B, who is another great musician in our local Erie community. So let me play that, and then I'll give you the rest of my spiel to end the show, and then I'll tell you guys about what's going on tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So let me put this on and let you guys feel the vibes, and we'll go from there. I'ma make it real hard, no this shit ain't stopping. Get out the way, you're broke, your focus, better quit your talking. Yo, I hope someday if I'm making a change, I'll be so great that I'm saving the day. For all of those heroes that are paving the way, taking his fate, I ain't playing no games. 88 keys, 6 strings, and a microphone. That's all it really took for me to find a new home. BROKEBOLAND. That's what you wanna call me. So who could be the best? Are you tough for the tough? Who could be the rest? Are you rough with them rough? Who can smoke the fattest, take a puff of this stuff? So you a bad motherfucker, calling your bluff. What? Hey, focus, how you wanna roll this truck out? Wanna battle back and forth and turn it to a showdown? You know I'm only kidding with this mic that we share. We should raise our hands high, leave them gasping for air. Stir down, broke bees, supplying the track. Got one of mine open, I'm hoping you're mad. But the quote of mama open and close the back. Ill runs that I compose, it better take a step back. You finally crossed the line for the last time. This broken focus made you feel it with the last rhyme. This time, I'ma make it real hard, no this shit ain't stopping. Get out the way, you're broke, your focus, better quit your talking. Yeah. All right, guys, so that was the end of the song, Broke in Focus. I hope you guys enjoyed the show that I put on tonight. Will Soffa was another amazing guest that I had on the show for Tales Behind the Creative. I hope you guys tune in for the article that I'm going to preview tomorrow on the Erie Reader and every other article that I've put out thus far. Another thing that I thought of was that the 40 under 40 nominations for the Erie Reader are up and running right now until May 1st. So I would really appreciate all of you to take the little couple moments out of your day to nominate me, because I'm really trying so hard to express all the creatives out here in our local Erie community and give them the attention that they deserve during a very trying and negative time like this, because we all know that we can't go out and support them in a physical way. So in a virtual way, I'm glad that I can offer this opportunity for them, and as well as for my audience, for you guys to be able to view them. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like my new page, Tales Behind the Creative, on Facebook. nominate me for 40 Under 40 if you feel like I'm doing a good job making a difference out here, as well as tuning in for tomorrow's show, which is going to feature another local musician, Nicholas Nasibian. He's a good friend of mine. He's an amazing, amazing musician. He plays piano, he sings, and if you haven't seen his ballad of Bernie Sanders, you definitely need to check it out. We'll be talking about it more tomorrow, so I can't wait for you guys to see it. So tune in to my Facebook tomorrow at 8 p.m. sharp. We'll be talking to him, spreading the love, the positivity, and giving our minds a break off of the pandemic that's going on around us. And I know it gets more and more serious every day, but all we can do is keep a smile on our face and keep the positivity rolling. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I love you all. I hope you stay safe. And from here, I'm out. My name's Simone, your hostess with the mostest, and this is Tales Behind the Creative. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Until then, have a great night and a great day tomorrow. Bye, guys.